in a 24-hour time frame, you only have, like, think about it like a battery. You only have like a certain amount of energy to allocate towards the things that you need to do. And you need to be, now we know this, because like as business builders, it's crucial that we know this. And so we have to direct that energy like very carefully, because if you don't, then end of the day, you're not gonna have the time, energy that you need to to allocate to focus on things that matter, that truly matter.
I think we're all lazy.
Biologically, I think
we're designed to be lazy.
Yeah, I think biologically.
Our bodies want to conserve energy. Right?
Yeah. Couple of different aspects of laziness. There's procrastination. That's a form of laziness. Procrastination is a form of laziness. That's something that I've struggled with a lot, right? That's one form of it. And then I also wrote this down, procrastination, and there's also lack of discipline could also be a form of laziness, right? And then also excuses. Welcome to Beyond Logic, the podcast that challenges the way you think, questions the status quo, and dives deep into life's biggest challenges. Here we go beyond what's seen, beyond what's obvious, and beyond mere logic. If you're ready to think deeper, challenge your perspective, and step into a greater understanding of life, this is the place for you. My name is Frank Kenny, and this is Beyond Logic. Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Beyond Logic. This is now officially episode 7. And 7. What? It's 7.
8.
Yeah? Okay. Well, this is episode 8. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Episode 8. It's all good. This is episode number 8. And very touching and interesting topic that we're going to talk about today. And honestly, a lot of you guys probably will be offended by some of the things that we do say, because it might directly apply to you. You're going to be like, snap. Like, this guy's like literally talking to me right now, you know. But anywho, as always, we have our co-host, Monsieur Kai. What's going on, my guy? How you feeling?
What's going on? I'm feeling good.
Yeah, dude, we've made it to episode 8. Look, so I recorded the first episode of the podcast myself, and then like the rest has been with you, bro.
We've done 7 episodes.
We've done 7 episodes together.
Lucky number 7.
That's crazy. And so the next, because what I'm thinking is like the next season, then we're gonna start bringing guests onto this, which is like very exciting, actually. Very exciting. Yeah.
Cool.
We're gonna start bringing on guests on the podcast, and it's gonna be very, very intellectual.
Yes,
very intellectual for all.
Planned.
Yes, very intellectual for all of us, for people to learn, you know. So, bro, I want to talk about laziness. Ooh. I want to talk about laziness, bro, because I think we live in a culture today where so many people are lazy, and I mean, okay, so I think it's okay for a period of time in your life to go through a phase where. Actually, no, I don't think there's ever a point in life where you need to be lazy, but everybody, what I'm trying to say is like everybody do go in a point in life to where they are lazy, and we're going to define what laziness is, you know. Everybody in the point of their life go to seasons to where they're extremely lazy, but like when you go back and analyze those seasons, you see that there's not much, you're not receiving much, or you're not like very fruitful in those seasons where you're lazy, right? Because lazy people, bro, there's punishment and the consequences for being lazy, and it says this in the Bible, and like we'll reference to some of like the verses in the Bible, like there's consequences for being lazy. Lazy people, they're.
What do you define as a lazy person?
Lazy person?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's there's a couple of different aspects of laziness. There's procrastination. That's a form of laziness. Procrastination is a form of laziness. That's something that I've struggled with a lot, right? That's one form of it. And then I also wrote this down, procrastination, and there's also lack of discipline could also be a form of laziness, right? And then also excuses. Those are actually excuses. That's another thing that I've struggled with. So mainly for me, procrastination and laziness has been the form of, procrastination and excuses have been something that I've struggled with from a form of laziness. So I'll categorize, again, procrastination, excuses, in addition to dependency. When you're constantly dependent on somebody to do things for you. I think those are all forms of laziness. And obviously, I think that you can expand to it. I don't know if you would expand anything else to that, but that's what I would define as being lazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very specific definition. So I say I think you covered it. I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah.
I would just say that the overall is just like unwillingness to exert energy.
That's, I guess, if you wanted to just take it to like just on high level, yes. High level, yes. Unwillingness to exert energy, right?
But the thing is, I think we're all lazy.
Biologically, I think
we're designed to be lazy.
Yeah, I think
our
biologically
bodies want to conserve energy, right?
Yeah. I think that's a good argument to be made about that. Yes, we are designed to be lazy because when you think about like the limbic system, right? It only wants to exert energy on things that it's beneficial for it. Like it's going to exert energy to go and find food,
Yeah.
right? It's going to exert energy to go and to pleasure itself from like sexual perspective, and so that's true. So it's only going to exert energy in the things that's going to keep it safe and that's going to pleasure itself, right?
Yeah.
And so,
But it uses necessary, basically.
yeah, it's a necessity, right? And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with from a laziness perspective. But I think the thing that you have to do is then like, kind of obviously first of all like be aware of that, but then also, how can I then exert this energy like elsewhere? Because dude, there's the level of energy and excitement that comes from you when you're thinking about having sex with your partner. If you do have a partner, there's like so much. You just have this high urge of like energy. Imagine like transferring that energy somewhere else. Think of how fruitful you can be. And honestly, in today's culture, specifically with men, that's what a lot of men chase. That's what they exert a lot of their energy towards. Going and pleasuring themselves, like going and like just chasing women.
Sure.
Chasing women. And I've honestly, I can speak to like, I've struggled with that to where I would exert so much energy and so much capital just chasing women and neglecting the things that I know I need to do for myself. I know we've both done that in the past, Yep. And so again, and that energy is biological. Like you naturally want to do that, but like you have to kind of I think there's periods of your time when you can do that, but you also have to abstain from like just essentially like direct that energy somewhere else. But I want to let you intervene and essentially add to that.
Well, do you think that the energy is actually being directed somewhere else, or are you just delaying it?
Wait, what do you mean?
Because you're talking about the inherent drive that we have. Mm-hmm. I don't think, for me, my inherent drive has changed all that much.
You don't think so?
Like maybe I'm not pursuing short-term gratification with women, but one of my biggest goals is still to find a wife and build a family with, and that in turn is still very similar goals. It's just I'm not using the short-term energy now to essentially expend it and waste it. I'm using the same energy, but directed in a long-term goal for the same purpose.
I guess it's from like ultimately, because you're all talking about from like a long-term perspective, right? Ultimately,
I'm just saying the drive is the same.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Yeah, the drive is the same. Yeah, the drive is the same. But I think we're trying to say the same thing. Short term, like you're currently right now, like in your specific life, I don't know if you want to dive into your specific situation, but like you're not essentially like pursuing women. You're not exerting energy in pursuing women. You want to focus on your goals and your targets, right? And so you're redirecting.
Why am I pursuing my goals and my targets?
Oh yeah, I want you to tell us that. Thing. I want you to tell us that, right? You're essentially what you're saying, like you're delaying that gratification for much later when you're in a better position in life. Is it because maybe in the past you have directed that energy towards chasing women, like, but it doesn't necessarily yield what you wanted? But now, okay, cool. I've learned that. Now let me redirect that energy. Instead of chasing women, let me focus on like the specific goals and targets that I have for my life, right? Once I achieve those targets, then I can kind of re-extend that energy and kind of focus more on like finding the woman that I'm to be with for the rest of my life. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're gonna say
it's just again, I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
the same goal. My goal has not changed. It's just that my purpose of not pursuing women is so that I pursue the right woman.
Yeah. No, I like that.
That would be like,
but
similar goals, right?
Yeah.
It's just about how you frame it and look at it.
Yeah, but ultimately, like what we said, like inherently, like that's what like the human mind, that's what like the human body is biologically. That's what we ultimately want.
Yeah.
Right. But like the big thing is that we men, and I'm gonna talk about for men because we're men and we can share our experiences from this. But it's something that sabotages a lot of men in their youth and even in adulthood as well, because they never really learn how to manage that energy, and so it's constantly, to an extent, they're constantly like they're a slave to themselves. They're a slave to like the limbic system. Like, the limbic system is directing their every decision, like every decision, right? And so continuously pursuing that and not being able to recognize what is happening and redirecting that energy towards like your targets or your goals, because we all have targets and goals that we ultimately want in life, but we, like you said, we're trying to achieve that now. Like we want the very thing now without having like a foundation set into place. Dude,
How does all of that feed into laziness?
how does that feed into laziness? And we're gonna tie back into that. We're gonna tie this, but like this a lot more that we were. But what I want to share is like my personal experience. Like in college, I was a lot of my attention, even though like there's a lot of things that I had on my plate from like my pursuing my degree. Even at the time when I played soccer as well, a lot of my energy was still directed towards like chasing women. And so chasing women, dude, it distracts you from like the very thing that you obviously that are more crucial and essential in your period of life at that time. For example, from like an educational perspective, I was constantly going out like on the weekends. I was constantly going out drinking after women, spending a lot of money just to try to find a mate.
That doesn't sound very lazy though. That sounds like you're on your grind.
on the wrong things, but I was lazy in school. Because all I was thinking in school was like, oh, I want to go out and da 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 da. Like I was lazy in school.
So you think
that's all my attention. My attention, like my energy or attention was directed in the wrong places, and so I had not much energy to be redirected towards like my education.
Yeah. So in that sense, that was like a procrastination for you, or was it more like an excuse?
It was procrastination, and it was like an excuse. It was procrastination and excuse, which I believe to all be forms of like laziness, right? Because I mean, on a day, bro, like we only have so much mental bandwidth to be able, to allocate towards the different things in our life. But if you're constantly allocating that energy, if you wake up in the morning, okay, you're thinking about women all the time. How am I gonna like? What's the strategy to chase and to attack this woman? And so, end of the day, you don't really have much mental bandwidth to execute on the things that you need to execute on, which is in that specific case, like school, doing my homework, dude. I barely passed my engineering classes. Honestly, I barely passed my engineering classes. Again, just because of that. And other people and like my group of friends, like they were in like the same boat, So procrastination was a big thing because I'm just gonna do this later. And so I was exerting the energy that I had during that day towards something else. And so because I said I'm gonna do this later, when later come, I don't have enough energy. I want to fall asleep. Because it's like in a 24-hour time frame, you only have think about it like a battery. You only have like a certain amount of energy to allocate towards the things that you need to do. And you need to now we know this. Because like as business builders, it's crucial that we know this. And so we have to direct that energy very carefully. Because if you don't, then end of the day, you're not gonna have the time, energy that you need to to allocate to focus on things that matter, that truly matter.
I agree.
Yeah. And so I am curious, like from your perspective, we've all had forms of laziness. Like, what was like the biggest form of it that you struggled?
Well, I'm a huge procrastinator, but I wouldn't consider some of my procrastination is pure laziness. Other forms of procrastination, I think, I wouldn't categorize as laziness because it's not me unwilling to exert energy. It's me avoiding doing work in certain things, but still using the same type of energy somewhere else.
Okay.
So procrastination for me has been kind of like a double-edged sword because it has helped a lot.
Procrastination?
Yeah, as a creative.
But you don't think it's a form of laziness?
No, because again, I categorize laziness as unwillingness to exert energy.
I'll add on top of that. It's unwillingness to work or take action. Unwillingness to work or take action when needed. I think it can. When
needed, I don't think that categorizes laziness. Everyone takes action when needed.
Well,
if you're gonna move.
Okay. Maybe take maybe take out the needed part, but like.
Right. I think it's again. I think laziness is unwilling to take. I think
to work or take action.
I think it's unwilling to exert energy, man. It doesn't have to be. I wouldn't categorize it as someone's lazy because they're pursuing the wrong thing. They're still pursuing something.
I don't know. I guess maybe you could possibly put it under
okay,
there,
you see someone who's running on the road. You call him lazy?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't call him lazy.
He's not supposed to be running right now. He should really be. He's procrastinating from writing a 200-page essay that's due in 5 hours. Mm-hmm. But he's running because he's trying to clear his mind.
Okay.
You call him lazy?
Yeah, I mean that's a form of so that's procrastination, but a kid also.
I don't think that's lazy though. That's just way of
exerting energy towards like the wrong things.
Yeah, but that's not laziness. That's just not being smart with your time and energy. That's not laziness. Laziness is like, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to exert force to do anything. I'm just like slothful. Like, I would categorize that as, and that's why I break my procrastination into two forms. One is like lazy procrastination. One was productive procrastination.
Okay.
And I'll talk more about the lazy procrastination, but the productive procrastination for me was like, I would do something that it still requires energy to do that maybe I was supposed to do later, but I do now, or I randomly find something. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take care of this real quick. I don't find that to be necessarily. I don't find that to be laziness because as a creative, it's actually part of my work process sometimes. You pull different inspiration from different places. You don't know where they come from. A lot of my creative breakthroughs come from the procrastination of like, all right, I'm not going to sit down and hammer away, or my brain's telling me, don't sit down and hammer away at this thing because you're not getting it for now. And for some reason, when I procrastinate on this, and I look for inspiration in other places. I might read a book. I might pick up something from my library, just flip through, and then boom, all of a sudden, inspiration strikes. I see something, and then I'm like, all right, pull me back into work. Yep. So I don't categorize productive procrastination as laziness.
Okay.
I'll start with that.
I am curious what the dictionary does actually define laziness to be, because you kind of define it how you defined it. I defined it how I defined it.
I think it defines it as unwillingness to exert energy.
Look
it up, bro.
Let's
pretty
look
sure
it
that's
up.
it.
Can we? What is laziness?
Bro, you have an iPad in front of you.
It's gonna take too much. Look up what is laziness.
Who cares about the dictionary definition, man?
So again,
what is laziness to you? A lack of motivation or energy to do things that needs to be done.
Needs to be done. See, so and the reason why it is important because like if you're defining it in a different way that I'm defining it, right?
It's a mental state of disinclination to exert oneself or be active, despite having the ability to do so. Nothing about needs to be done there. There's multiple definitions, man. Yeah, so it's like, what's the point? Why do we care about the dictionary definition?
Well, because I think it's
important. Define it for you,
and
then define it for me.
Yeah, and so that's what we did. But I think it's important to be able to classify, to be able to define what that is. You know, so again, you define it as what you think laziness to be, and I define it what it means to me to be lazy, like with the procrastination, excuses, lack of discipline, and dependency. You know,
I agree with all that. I just don't think I don't think the whole categorization of procrastination is laziness.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that works. That works. But so like ultimately, like, why is that such a big problem in today's culture? Why do you think it's such a big problem in today's society?
Laziness.
Yeah. Because I think, because also kind of how you're describing it, you kind of said it to be almost like a productive thing, to when like, okay, cool, if I'm being, based upon like your definition, because like if I'm defining laziness as,
my unproductive procrastination, that is laziness. That's like I'm lounging there scrolling TikTok or something. I'm doing a marathon of some streaming service, Netflix. And I'm not supposed to be, like, it's not producing anything. It's not really exerting energy.
Okay.
It's just like consuming it. Then that would be laziness.
Okay.
That would be the procrastination type. That is lazy. So I agree. And we often do that in our society because I think of how easy everything is to access.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest one. Everything's becoming more and more convenient. It's easier than ever to just be complacent. And everything around you is essentially telling you to be complacent.
Yep.
And the best minds in the world are designing products and services that are helping you feed your complacency and to be lazy.
So do you think, I love what you said, because a lot of the greatest minds are developing these products to, it makes it significantly easier for people to be lazy and to be complacent. So do you think it's that act, it's purposeful to, well, okay, cool, we somehow need to divide, okay, cool, there's like, you have the extremely smart people that develop the product, they understand the product, and a lot of them don't necessarily use that product, Mark Zuckerberg is a good example, but a lot of people, like, not a lot of people, like a majority of like the population, it's, at least I would think, I don't know the specific data on that, but use social media, and so social media as well can be a big form of like laziness and procrastination, but do you think they do it in purpose from a financial gain, and then they understand and they know that a lot of the population, we need to keep them over here so they can continue to consume the platform, which generates capital gain for these corporations. Do you think you think so?
It's literally what the algorithms are designed to do.
Okay.
They want to keep you on there, so you're on there and watching, scrolling, so you'll scroll past ads, you'll watch ads, and then they get paid. That's their job.
Okay. I think it's so important to know and to understand and to be conscious of that, because it's like I just think it's very important to be conscious of that, and then develop strategies in place. Specifically talking about social media, and I know something that you do pretty well. It's like you have a specific app that has like a countdown to when you can and you can't go on social media, and and then you don't even have it on your platform, or you don't even have it on your phone, which I think is pretty cool to do that. But understanding that a lot of these corporations they instill these this technology to keep you lazy for their specific gains. I think it's very important to understand that. It's like, yes, you can use those platforms for to help you in a lot of different aspects, but it's designed, like the core of the design is to force you and to keep you in a specific place, to keep you from being lazy, which is a topic that we're talking about today. So again, I think it's very important to be conscious of that. Yeah. And so I think another big thing is a lot of people are also very entitled, which I think can also like entitlement culture. I think it's also a big problem in today's society from a laziness perspective, right? And people that are very entitled, they're also very dependent, I think to an extent, right? So for example, people rely a lot on government to feed them, to take care of them, right? And I know this can get into very shaky waters, but
we're being political.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of something that you do have to talk about. But if somebody if you're dependent upon the government to take care of you, because a lot of people are, you're dependent upon the government to take care of you. So what does that do for you? If you're very dependent on something, then to a large extent, you lack the capacity to go out there and to produce for yourself, right? And then imagine when the thing that you're very dependent upon is removed, then you're left into a much worse situation than you essentially were before.
Yeah.
So that's an issue, but so many of the world's population depend on the government to take care of them.
Yeah, I want to preface this. I don't think it's I think we need to figure out a right balance with the incentive of, because I still think people need help.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that at all. Yeah.
But at the same time, some able-bodied 25-year-old man should not be able to sit in his mom's basement and receive government checks.
Wait, say that again?
What?
Say that again?
A 25-year-old man who's able-bodied, who can work, should not be able to sit at home and receive government checks. Mm-hmm. That should not be able to happen.
Right, I agree with that.
But I don't know how much of that is happening. I'm just saying, if that's you, what are you doing? You're literally setting yourself up for failure by sitting there and doing nothing and accepting some check or someone else to take care of you when you fully have the capacity to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And the only reason you're doing it is because it's hard and you're being lazy.
Okay, so what's the other end of that?
What do you mean? The other end would be someone who's legitimately disabled, who cannot work, who would be out on the street if they did not have any government assistance. Mm-hmm. Those people we should absolutely help.
Okay, no, yeah. So yeah, there's a ground.
Of course, there's two ends of that.
Yeah.
But also, I just think we got to figure out that incentive, right? Because if we have a system in place where people can just take advantage of it by saying, "Oh, I can't work because of whatever BS excuse they make up in their mind," and the government just okay, here's a check, then they're not gonna work. And we also have to have the incentive that when you do work, you should get more for your work. Yeah. I don't know how. To what extent this is happening, but we can't have a system where you make the same amount of money working a minimum wage job as you do sitting at home doing nothing and the government pays you. Yep. We can't have that.
But that's very much a thing.
Yeah.
Because I think what Mr. Trump, I think he's planning on giving out like stimulus checks again, right?
I have no idea. I haven't been following, to be honest.
Okay, but no, because during the pandemic, yeah, that's something that happened. Yes, I think it was crucial. It was essential to some people. Like I don't want to drive too much into like the political aspect of that, but like I think just kind of what that does to the brain. Okay, if somebody, because there was the first stimulus check that came out, right? I think a lot of people benefited from that, but then a lot of people were kind of expecting that to continue to happen, and so they kind of based upon like that expectation, then they kind of sit back and don't necessarily do anything.
Yeah.
But and the thing that I do want to get into is now kind of getting into like financial, like with crypto and things like that, short and long term gains. I think crypto can be a problem, dude. I think crypto can be a big problem. I don't know you've heavily invested into that, but I'm curious from your perspective. Do you think like you're solely relying on crypto to be like financially like fruitful?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I have a very diversified portfolio. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm not relying on crypto by any means. It's just one of my investment vehicles.
Okay. Yeah, because
personally, but I do know there's like guys that will be like, doing minimum wage jobs in their mom's apartment, and then they'll put everything in crypto, hoping like, please make this meme coin, make me rich, and
short
then
term
they lose everything, and then they'll try again doing the same thing, and they don't. The thing is, they're relying on an external factor to make them more rich.
Yep.
And I know I am too when I'm investing in things, but I'm doing it in a way that's like, well, if crypto goes to zero, I'm gonna be fine. I'm not gonna be like, oh no, that's everything I own. Like I am heavy in it now, but it would hurt. I would take a hit. I would be like, oh, that hurts. But I'm not relying on it to make money. Like I'm still working. I still have my business.
Okay.
I'm still majority of the day is focused on my business.
Yeah.
It's just those little, the every spare dollar I have right now, I feel like going towards crypto is the best investment.
Okay.
So that's why I'm in it heavy.
No, okay, that's good. For your perspective, like that's good because like you said, like you're diversified, like you have a very diversified portfolio, and like you have your company, and you have the business that you're running as well. But I think that's not the case for a lot of people. Again, based on what we're talking about, like the culture just pushes like instant gratification, just easy money, and so people fall for that, and so they just constantly like what's the easiest route for me to be successful? Like what is that easy? Like what is that next thing? And like crypto's like one of those things, Like I see like the meme. I mean, yeah, there are memes, but like I see people, like oh, like I'm investing like everything into like crypto, and this and that. It's I don't know. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy, and I think it's just. It's just to be conscious of that, like just to be very conscious of that, because again, ultimately, like that does you constantly being dependent on this very thing that ultimately pushes. What's the word I'm trying like? It pushes like when you're constantly like dependent on this specific thing, again, which is like crypto now that we're talking about, right? And then as the constant dependent on, it's like you tend to not do much else, like to work. To try to like find other opportunities because like you're very dependent on this one thing and think that one thing is gonna make you to into a millionaire or whatever it is that you want to be.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But anything else to add on that? Because I want to.
Hey, small percentage of people might be right, but you don't want to depend on being that small percent. God gave you abilities and talents for you to use and produce things.
Yeah.
So you should focus on that. And then if you want to take your spare time and spare money and throw it all into some high-risk play, go right ahead.
You said go right ahead. Yeah.
It's your money.
I guess, yeah. Go, yeah. I guess you could say that. You could say that. Yeah, but I just the thing with that, it's just kind of circling back around is that obviously with just like easy money, like crypto, like gambling and things like that, just like a lot of like people, like the younger generation, tend to not get into field which requires like external work or like a lot of energy, like farming, trade, like farming and things like that. It's you don't see like a lot of younger people going into specific fields like that which require like labor work, And I'm curious, just like over the next generation, like what's gonna happen to this specific industry if it's not something that's data is not like it's not popular, like people aren't really going into it. Like what's going overall, like how does that affect the whole population in general? I'm curious from your perspective.
I have no idea what you just asked.
Okay, so since what is being pushed out right now in society is instant gratification with crypto, with a lot of people gamble, right? So
Okay.
they want like the fast things.
Okay.
Since that's the thing, there's also this whole other industry which moves the world like with farming, agriculture, and things within that scope.
Like the trades.
Yeah, the trades.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are. I don't know what the specific data is, but like if that's not something that a lot of the younger generation is actually like investing into, or putting much
Oh.
attention and energy into. So
Oh,
with less
I
of
see
that
what you mean.
happening,
Yeah.
that eventually over a long enough period of time impacts everyone.
Supply and demand,
So-
baby.
yeah,
That's
that
what's going to happen.
That impacts everyone.
So any of the trades that are going to be in high demand will essentially pay more for the people that have those skills. And if you are someone who invested in the right place now for something that will be a high demand thing in the future, you're going to reap the benefits versus everyone else who didn't focus on building trades and they played the short term, whatever short term play you want to call it. Those people will be left, if they did not make it, they will be left holding the biggest L.
The biggest L, like how you put that, the
And
biggest
I
L.
think that it really is coming. The advent of AI, robotics, a lot of these manual labor jobs will eventually even go away too.
Manual labor
And-
job, yep.
Yep. And then I think trades will be in high demand. I think a lot of these, I wouldn't even say, yeah, manual labor is going to be in high demand still. We do have a workforce problem too. And a lot of businesses are still going to need talent,
Yep.
but it's just shifting in a different direction. And you should try to identify what that is while you're planning. Like if you don't have a career move, think about what's going to happen in 5 years. I would just go into something to do with AI, to be honest. If you don't mind doing trades, then I would go into trades. I think trades is going to be huge. I think there's going to be a lack of demand for people in those areas. And I think combining AI, robotics with trades, which is still a necessary, like we still need it regardless. You're going to make a lot of money.
I think so.
You're
I think
gonna
so.
make a ton of money.
I think there's also this other aspect of it is, it's like there's more, obviously like going to be more like in the future. I think even now there's going to be more demand for like, these specific skill set. But I think we probably might I think this is something that's happening now, might ultimately come to a place where now because there isn't as much agriculture and food being produced and farms being, being produced, I think they're just not artificial food that might
Did you hear about the milk? The
milk?
first company to grow milk.
grow milk.
It's like real milk.
Are you for real?
It matches 1-to-1 with what milk is, but it's not real milk. It's like grown. It's trippy.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
That's
I think we're moving in that direction where a
But-
lot of this
but-
stuff will be lab produced. And
yeah. But like, how does that affect like our human biology? Like
I
how
don't
does
know. I don't
'cause
know. Theoretically, if it's 1-to-1 equivalent, same amount of nutrients, same everything, it should be fine. But I don't know, man.
Because I don't know. Yeah, that's
I'm gonna be hesitant to try that stuff for now. I'm gonna like stick to the real thing, but I think the real thing will eventually become more and more expensive.
like the real thing will become more expensive because like the other thing is like you can obviously just like produce that
I think
like
like
instantly.
I'm talking like decades from now. Yeah.
Like, if I know. Yeah, that's that's
Well,
scary.
when
right?
production methods scale and it's more efficient and it's cheaper to grow milk in a lab than it is to milk it out of a cow, feed the cow, take the cow on walks, do all the things to make the cow good, right? It's going to be cheaper to just copy paste
Copy and
essentially
paste.
in a lab. And when that becomes the norm, then those things will inevitably be cheaper because of supply and demand. There's more supply of it than the ease of production. But who knows?
Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah, I want to have a farm in the future. That's my goal. Eventually, when I retire,
See,
I'll have a nice chunk of land somewhere, like maybe Texas. I don't know. It's gonna be real popping in Texas. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
want to go there.
A lot
And
of
then,
people. A lot of people are migrating to Texas. Like my brother moved to
My
Texas,
friend
bro,
just bought a house there too.
because it's cheaper.
It is cheaper there.
Cheaper
live.
compared to here.
But also, it's just I want to be able to grow my own food. I want to have chickens. I want a big goldfish farm. That'll be my retirement plan.
Yeah, bro.
I just
And
want to I just want to grow and what is it? What is that called? Breed goldfish.
Okay.
That's my retirement plan.
okay, yeah, that's
So I
but,
won't be lazy in my old days.
I mean, I think in your old days, it's okay for you to be lazy because
No,
like
it's
you
not, dude.
in your old days.
No, dude. If you stop moving, you're gonna die. That's how old people
If you
start.
stop moving, you're gonna die.
Yeah, dude. You see all these guys in Japan living like super old, but they're still like in their little booth making mochi. They're like, the reason is because they have a reason to live. They have a reason to move. Their brain is still active, so their body's not going to like shut down. You see them like as soon as like really old people retire and they don't do anything, that's when they start to like degenerate because the body's like doesn't need to do anything anymore.
Yeah, no,
What you don't use, you lose.
Yeah.
I think that's important because a lot of people are losing in their 20s.
Yeah.
Not using anything.
No, I think that's true. I think you still need to ultimately just have a sense of purpose and just kind of work towards things. I mean, towards pursuing a specific thing. But when I say this, it's okay for like somebody that's like in the 70s or like late 70s. I think it's still okay as long as you are still doing some form of work, like what you're saying, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm
but
saying.
like there's not as like this, you don't have that pressure that like the younger generation has.
Hopefully not.
You know, hopefully not. But I mean, that's not always true though. That's not always true because like you'll still see some people in the 70s. Because I remember when I used to work in the factory as this is like after graduation, I was working in where was I working? But nonetheless, there was like people in their 60s that's like they work because they needed to work in order to still provide for themselves, right? Okay. Think about it, kind of like the topic of what we're talking about, which is like laziness and like instant gratification, right? So it's like a lot of these individuals, they didn't necessarily want to take the time to invest into like the later future, right? And so they was essentially everything that they were like reaping in the moment. It was like boom, it was going to waste. Going back to the main things that we're talking about, whether it's like spending like on women or like whatever it is, and it's particularly like if you don't have savings, if you're not investing for the future, if everything is you just like, okay, I want to consume this now. I got this thing. I'm gonna consume this now. Like if you gotta be able to save some aspect of it. Think about like the long term future. And so those people, because they weren't able to do that at a younger age. At the current age that they're at, again, this is we're talking about between like the 60s and 70s. Like they still have to work, and like that's, I don't know. It's that's a big problem with that. I think it's a big problem with that.
Yeah. Didn't save enough for retirement. Didn't invest.
Yeah.
Rough.
Instant gratification. We talked about a lot about like instant gratification. I think we need to like define that. Like, what does instant gratification mean to you?
To me, it's just chasing pleasure now, at the expense of what I know to be good for me in the future.
Like, can you give like any like specific example from like your?
Yeah, I'm gonna eat this giant bucket of fried chicken right now because it's gonna taste so good. It's gonna melt in my mouth, and all the oils and juices will flow, and I will have much happiness. But I'm gonna immediately feel bad right after, and then it will set me back probably at minimum 3 to 5 days of my diet. I've just eaten enough calories to burn for 3 to 5 days. So then I'll be not just 3 to 5 days behind, but I'll be actually 6 to 10 days because of how much time it would take to catch back up.
Yeah.
Unless I double time everything else. So then it means I have to work twice as hard, which might impact other parts. And then it steamrolls. So that bucket of fried chicken, not worth it, bro.
Yeah, and you're fasting right now too. Just you're fasting right now, right? You're thinking about.
But it's not as bad because I know I'm gonna eat later today.
Okay.
It's just half day.
But dude, so it's crazy. So this is I'm reading this verse in the Bible. So talk about instant gratification, dude. People, I don't want to say this guy sold his soul, but Esau's his name, which is Jacob's twin. You know who like Jacob is in the Bible, right? So let me read this. So Esau, who's the older brother of Jacob, so one day he comes home, he's hungry from a day of working, right? And so he doesn't have any food, and he sees Jacob like cooking food, right? And he's like, "Hey, can I get can you share that with me?" And Jacob is like, "Yeah, sure, but on one condition: you have to sell me your birthright." Because like Jacob is the younger brother of Esau, right? And because Esau, he's hungry right now, and so he decides to sell his birthright. And we'll talk about like what that birthright is in just a moment. It's huge. He sells his birthright to his younger brother Jacob for a meal right now.
It's crazy.
Which is like so you think about this, like imagine, so like you're like your family's like super wealthy, and like the younger or the older brother comes home one day and he's like, yo, I'm hungry. Like, I know I see you're cooking some food right now. Like, would you share some of the food that you're cooking with me? And then the younger brother's like, oh, because I know that you're going to inherit like the family corporation of business, you know, if you decide to give that to me, I'll give you the food. I'll give you the food right now. And then the older brother's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then he just, boom, he takes the food, and just for that moment, because he was hungry for that moment, takes the food and then gives away his inheritance. But like, so stupid, bro. And that's what people do today, bro.
I don't think anyone does that for real.
Maybe not to that extent,
like,
bro. But
I
like,
think it was
that's
a spiritual inheritance that he gave up, like his birthright. Like, yeah, in that story, that's what it's warning us about.
Yeah,
it's necessarily like
yeah,
like someone who willingly gives away their financial inheritance for food, for a meal. Like, that's crazy. Like, as a brother, to be like, first of all, give me everything for this bowl. I'd just be like, man, you better stop playing. Give me that.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, like, you have to understand what that spiritual inheritance means, right? And what it means for you. But I think obviously maybe not to that degree of like, but it still happens today. People make these stupid decisions, and they make the stupid decisions because like, oh, I just want food right now. Or maybe if it's in relation to a girl, like, oh, maybe if I just do this for her right now, like, it's just, you know. But yeah,
we make these decisions all the time, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Without even realizing it too.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't realize that. And even like from my aspect, dude, I used to make a lot of stupid financial decisions like back in the days. You know, like a lot of stupid financial decisions, dude. I remember this is back in college, bro. I remember I took out a bro, hope my dad.
We've already passed that, dude. We're way past that.
Bro,
You've seen everything.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I remember just taking out loans in school to like purchase stuff that wasn't in relation to school. I remember like took out a loan. I purchased a motorcycle, bro. Yeah. I bought a motorcycle. I think overall it's 2 motorcycles that I bought from a loan that I took, bro. Without thinking about long-term future, like just like thinking about like the consequences, bro.
Did you even see the interest on that at all?
I didn't know that. I didn't even understand how that thing works. I'm like, oh, here's access to like quick money. Let me just take that and buy a motorcycle because I think it'll make me look cool, you know. And just thinking about now, it's like extremely stupid, you know. And like now I'm paying for that. I'm still paying on the loan for that thing that happened several years ago, you know.
Oh, you still have that loan?
Yes, dude. I still have student loans. It was all part of the student.
It's part of the student.
Yeah, it was part of the student loan.
Wait, you're able to take out more student? I didn't even know you could do that. Yeah,
you can because my dad was he was like I think he was like the co-signer of that. Yeah, but like to this day like I still have student loans and I'm still paying for that, bro.
Oh wow. Yeah. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, but just listen to me saying this, but things that you may have done, even a decade ago, can still have can still catch up to you today. Can still have repercussions like today. Mm-hmm. You know, I just think it's just you just have to be mindful of the decisions that you make now. And part of the principle that I think we both use like second, third, fourth order consequences. Like before an action or decision that you're gonna make, you have to think about, okay, cool, what is the order of consequences of me taking this decision? And you mentioned like the fried chicken thing, you know. So if I eat this fried chicken right now, like what's gonna happen to me later? What's gonna happen to me tomorrow, et cetera, et cetera. But like you can literally apply the same principles to like everything else in your life. Okay, based upon this decision that I take on today, first order consequence. I take this decision. Let me think about the second order consequence of that. What is the likely outcome of what is to happen based upon this action that I took? Okay, cool. You can even take that like a step further. What is the third order consequences of this action that I took? What's the fourth? And you can extend it as much as possible. Like that's
I don't think it makes sense to think past like third.
Yeah, probably not. But like, you can though. Like you can. Try. And some people do. Like some people literally have like they just extend it as much as they can. Like extend it as much as they can. But like you said, you probably don't need to take it past like the third order consequence. You know. But
because they all end up being the same, relatively speaking. Like if you have a goal to lose weight, your third order consequences is going to be, oh, what happens if you don't lose the weight at this time that you said you would, you know? Mm-hmm. And then what is the outcome of that? And then it kind of converges at the end. Yeah. So I mean, again, this is our just like things that you can think about when the strategies that you can apply or mental models is called. You can use these mental models to essentially help you. Like overcome, just like thinking about the instant gratification. So those are strategies that you can use to essentially kind of like overcome that. Thinking about, okay, what is to happen based upon like this action that I'm gonna take today, you know?
And I think when you think about the consequences of your current action, you're less likely to take that action. Because like if you actually think about like the worst case scenario based upon the specific action that you take today, I think it could derail you from specifically taking that action.
No.
You don't think so, bro?
No.
No?
I think most people are aware. They know that it's going to happen, but they still do it anyways.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
You don't think so? You don't have those moments where you know, like, I'm not supposed to be doing this. I know what happens if I do this, but I'm going to do it anyways.
But I think to an extent, but like if you really like further, like if you really, really like think about like the worst case scenario of what could happen, but I think it could derail you from taking the action.
Yeah, but then in that moment, you're going to justify it with your mind and kind of negotiate with yourself. That's not going to happen. That's like the worst case. The percentage of the worst case happening is not going to happen. So it's fine if I do this now because it'll still be okay in the end, and you'll convince yourself of it when you want it enough.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think people are different in that aspect, bro. Because imagine something that's pretty big now into this culture is kind of like people hooking up just with Hinge and all these different like just the hookup culture, right?
Yeah.
Bro, if you meet a girl, right, and you guys decide to kick things off, and then like you know that you shouldn't be sleeping with a girl that you just met, but then you do like you know you shouldn't be sleeping with the girl, but somehow you guys are in the same place, and then you're like, okay, I know I shouldn't be sleeping with this girl. I know I shouldn't, and you're trying to you're trying to prevent yourself from thinking about that. And so in the process of trying to prevent yourself, you're thinking about, okay, what is the worst possible thing that could happen with me sleeping with this girl? Okay, this girl gets pregnant. This girl has baby. Going in that direction, thinking about the worst. Dude, I'm not gonna. I think maybe we're all different, but like I'm not gonna sleep with that action because just the fear of that thought of having the baby right now and possibly not being with that girl and having to pay child support and just continuously thinking about this worst possible outcome, dude. I'll be in so much fear that is gonna prevent me to take that action. Again, maybe people are different, and maybe I don't know.
I think it's a combination of the two because you can think about that, but I think that if you only focus on the negative, it actually doesn't help you all that much because you'll try to run away from it.
Exactly, because you shouldn't be taking that action because it doesn't help you with the.
Yeah, but by running away from it, you run right into what you shouldn't be doing anyways. Like you're not gonna. If you think about but then that's my point. Like. You can sit there and think, I'm gonna get this girl pregnant, but then there's so many other variables in your mind. Like, okay, what if she doesn't want to have the kid, and she, what if we use a condom? What if what if she's on birth control? Then you have all these variables come up, and you're like, well, I don't have to worry about that because whatever. And then it runs right into it. I think you need a bit of both. You need to also think about what is the thing that I might be giving up by doing this thing now, and that is the ability to see and vet whether this is the right person for me.
Yeah.
Instead of jumping right into being incredibly physical with them.
Yeah.
Like that could be an example. And what do you give up from not knowing if this is the right person? Well, you could waste 4 years of your life with the wrong partner because you jumped in too early. Like something like that, where it's giving up the potential positive, because that's much harder to manifest than to see the immediate negative. The immediate negative is you can it's more specific, so you can run away from it. There's less ambiguity, but with the positive, there's so much ambiguity. You don't know what is the best possible outcome for you. And so that's why I think for me, that's where I have to put my faith in God that he has the best thing for me, and that by following him, I'll be able to receive that in some shape or form.
I love that, bro. I love that you said this is kind of
that's the only thing that has helped me. Looking at just the negative is not enough. I've always been able to justify and weasel my way out of it. My brain does that.
And so ultimately, what you try to do is rely on God, that ultimately what he has for you is the best thing.
Yeah, because I focus on the good, not the bad. You need the cheese and you need the cat.
I love
the
that.
Mouse.
I love that. And see, the thing with that, because even like in the Bible, just like we know we should be trusting on God to be able to provide for us, right? And even sometimes I get impatient. Like I'll ask God for things, and then when he doesn't deliver to me, like I'll take things into my own hands. Like I'll dive into some biblical aspect of this, but and this is what I think, like the reason why this happens, like we're so impatient, which again we talked about, because just into this culture, like we're just conditioned. We're conditioned to like our brain is conditioned to like for like the instant gratification and things like that. Like we're conditioned for that, right? But anywho, so this is there's a lot of different examples like in the Bible. So like where people, even though God told them, I'm gonna provide this for you, right? But because it didn't happen in their specific time frame, they took actions on their own hands. So like the specific example, this was with Abraham and Sarah. You're familiar with like, I don't know if you're familiar with the story, but yeah. So essentially, like God promised Abraham like a son, right? And I mean, I don't know what the time frame on that was, but eventually, when Abraham was getting impatient, and so he took. Oh no, I think it was actually Sarah. They were both getting impatient, and so essentially, like Sarah, she gave her servant to Abraham to sleep with her, and eventually, a baby came out of that, right? And I mean, I don't want to go into like what happened into like with this like specific generation of that child that came about her, but that's like they didn't decide to trust God and they took matters into their own hand, But somehow God still like provided to them what it is that they, like the child that He promised, So like if God promised you something, like He will provide to you. I think like you have to be patient and wait for that,
How do you know God promised something to you?
That's a good thing, but in this specific example, obviously, like God told Abraham that, right? But how do you know when God promises something to you? That's a good question. Like I honestly, sometimes like I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the hard thing, because not like God doesn't speak to all of us like He spoke to Abraham, and He doesn't speak to all of like He doesn't like that like He does. I'm gonna give you this, but I think also like at the same time, God does promise us things in the Bible, and if you know what that is, and you should kind of trust that, right? I think obviously to an extent too, like with everybody's individual story is going to be different, But yeah, honestly, sometimes like I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't either.
Yeah, but yeah, man, I think this was a good discussion. Good discussion. I think we're gonna cut this short. Is there anything else that you wanna add onto this?
I would just. How do people deal with laziness, man? How do you deal with laziness when it comes?
How do you deal with laziness when it comes? That's a good. And specifically for me, what I classify to be as lazy, which was procrastination, right? And then what was the other thing? So it was procrastination and excuses, right? So even though I make a plan, these are the things that I'm going to do this month. These are the things that I need to do this week. These are the things I need to do on a daily basis, right? So I'll make a plan. What sometimes happen, specifically I'm working, but then I'll start to get tired, right? And then I have all this other stuff that I need to do. And then I'll give myself excuses like, which is like the procrastination aspect of it. It's like, I can do this later. Or like, I can do this later, da-da-da-da-da-da. But see, what I have to tell myself when that happens, doing this later, if I know that I need to do these things like today, by doing it later, right, ultimately, doing this later, ultimately, yes, there are consequences. For example, like if I need to do a client work today because I have a presentation, like if I need to do a client's work today because I have a meeting with them tomorrow, me delaying that presentation till tomorrow, essentially, I'm not going to be able to get all the information and have a presentation that's presentable to where the client may be satisfied, and so that could ultimately like delay into that could ultimately get into the contract of this contract with the client being kind of this like cancel because okay cool, like Frank, what is it that you're bringing up? So some aspect of this you have to think about like the second and the third order consequences of like okay, cool, if I don't do this today, right, what is the second and the third consequences? What we talked about earlier. What is the second and third order consequences? And typically because of that fear, because I don't want to lose this client, it prompts me to take the action because fear is like when you're scared of something, obviously you take action to prevent you prevent from things happening, right? So that's what I use again, second order consequences. If this thing doesn't go the way that I wanted, what are the consequences of that? And so that prompts me to take action now. So that's one way that I deal with it.
Okay, so you think about the consequence of not doing it.
Exactly.
Is there anything else?
I think that's the biggest. Is there anything else? Procrastination, which is the biggest? Yeah, I can't think of anything else right now. What about you?
Anytime you feel lazy, you just think about what would happen if I don't do this, and then that's bad, and then you do it.
Yeah, because like fear for me, fear is I think so.
Do you ever give in? Do you ever give in?
Of course, yeah, of course.
What do you feel when you give in?
What do I feel like when I do? I feel like shit. Honestly, I feel like
in the moment?
shit. I feel like maybe in the moment not as much, but like after the fact, I feel like shit.
Do you always regret your laziness?
Do I always regret my laziness? So, to an extent, bro, because again, this is the one that's specifically for me. Like I think I've conditioned myself to constantly be working. If I'm not working and I just have like a day to where like I'm chill without having to do work, like it's hard for me to enjoy like relaxation because I haven't worked. It can be a bad and a good thing, right? But me specifically, if I'm not working or if I've gone a day without working, I just decide to just rest and chill, it's gonna be hard for me to enjoy that because I'm gonna be constantly thinking, oh, I need to be working. I need to be going after it. I need to be going towards my targets. I need to be hitting my goals, right? That's constantly what plays into my mind. Like, why are you being lazy? Why you do this and that? So that I constantly plays into my mind. And so it goes back to what I said earlier. And then I start to get scared to where, okay, I know that if I'm not working, I'm not gonna reach those targets that I've set for myself. So it brings back fear to when it prompts me to leave what I'm doing and to take action, right? That's always something that I've like a struggle with. I think a lot of my friends say, bro, like, do you like do anything for fun? Like, do you do anything? So, yes, like working for me has become fun. You know, you just walk like, this is work. This is fun. I love doing this, right? I love recording like content. I love recording ads. It's fun. But some people like see that as like, you know, as work, you know. But I don't know. Yeah, that's.
So even when you're relaxing, you feel like it's hard to relax?
If I have not worked that specific day, it's hard for me to relax.
Okay,
but if I've done work,
yeah.
like, oh, I can go home and relax, watch a movie, like, then I can do that.
Okay.
But if I try to have which is hard, if I try to have a complete rest day, it's hard for me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I agree with that, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm curious. So, like, what about you? Like, what about you in the sense that, like, how do you deal with procrastination? Because I don't think it's the same for you and me, is it?
Well, yeah, I identify if this is like productive procrastination or unproductive procrastination.
Okay, yeah. So you define it as, yeah.
I also weigh like what is the thing I'm doing, and I have an issue with this for sure. But I think it's a double-edged sword for me because I don't really. If I catch myself doing unproductive procrastination, then I'll pull myself out, and I have set up systems to do so. Like the one
systems.
Sec.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like
Set a system.
Yep. So like the one sec that will pull me out if I'm on my apps for too long, or I'll just, you know, I have set rules. Like I'm not gonna be on social media through the first 12 hours of the day, just so I don't have any other way to distract myself. It's just giving me no other choice than to work or do something else. Right now I'm in my fast, so I'm either working or I can read the Bible or pray, or I can sit there and do nothing and meditate. Those are the only three options I give myself. And when that's the case, work becomes the most interesting option sometimes. And when I break, I read the Bible and pray. But yeah, I think you just give yourself less options to distract yourself with, and then it kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah.
I find it's always easier to remove those things than to try and add more things to make yourself better. Or
bro, that's so good. That's so good. I want to double tap on what you said, bro. You should already know the things, like you should know like the issue from like a laziness perspective. Again, for me, going back to like procrastination and that procrastination, like you should know the things like that makes you lazy, right? And what Kai says, like setting up system, I really like that. Setting up system around those things so you don't default to them, because it's so easy to default to procrastination and just being lazy. It's easy to do that. So again, I love that, because it's like you have to set up system, because you already know this is something that you struggle with, being aware of it, and then you can develop and set system in place so that it's not easy for you to just default to the original, to your default being lazy. I think that's so good. I think that's so good. And obviously, like those systems, I mean, you kind of have to, something you kind of to come up for yourself.
I think like a lot of people don't even know they know, but they're not aware of what their actual problems are when it comes to their distractions. They're super general about it. Like, don't be general. If you're like, I struggle with social media. Well, what exactly about social media do you struggle with? What is the thing that pulls you into social media? Like, you have to think about when do you access social media? How long do you access social media for? What are you looking at on social media? And then what triggers you to go on social media? For me, it's when I start hitting barriers in the work, it starts getting more boring, or this is a very hard thing. Or, oh, I can't believe this thing's like broken. It didn't work the way I was supposed to. I have to go figure out how to fix it. That's going to be a pain in my ass. And those things, that's when I let me take a break. Let me decompress. That's when I want to go on social media. I recognize that those are my triggers when things get hard and difficult. And I use it as a way to alleviate that pressure. And so you have to know the pressure's not going anywhere. You just need to find a better place to put it. And for me, it's easier now looking back. It's like if I just sit there and do nothing, I don't have to think about the problem. But I can't, if I distract myself, then I'll be taken off the rails. So I'll just sit here and think of nothing, do nothing, meditate. Or I'll go pray and read the Bible. Then it's like taking my mind somewhere else, but it's not in a way that is detrimental to what I know my weaknesses are, which is to be stuck in social media scrolling.
I like that.
So you have to really be introspective about yourself and like listen and understand you. And you do that, for me, the easiest way to do that has been tracking my time and journaling down whenever I feel like that thing. And it's easier if you do this one at a time. So if it's social media, you focus on social media first, and you only focus on social media, and you just try to jot down all the notes of when those things happen. Like when you go on, how long you're on it for, how you felt while you were on it, all those things.
I like that. Let me ask you, do you think laziness is a sin?
Do I think laziness is, I think being slothful is a sin, yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. Yeah, I think that's very true. It does kind of go back to.
It reminds me of the
guy with
the
talent?
the story of the 3 talents.
Yes. I remember we talked about one of the episodes. I was going to jump into that.
And then the end, the last one, the master says to the third guy who hid the talent and didn't reproduce what he did do it. He called him slothful, and then he sent him to the abyss, darkness, and the gnashing of teeth, which is the same way that hell is described. So I was like, that's a direct. That means, it is sinful to be slothful and fearful of not producing.
Like work is a form of worship. You're worshiping, like you're worshiping the God-given the talent that God has given you, and not working. You're essentially disregarding what God has given you. So that sounds like it is a sin for you to not be like to be lazy.
Yes.
Because you're disregarding everything that God has given you, right? And then the lazy people will be punished, like you just said. They will be punished. Lazy people will be punished. When you see, here's the thing. So a lot of times you see ultra successful people, talking about like the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, and all of them people, like they're hardworking people. Even though, again, I don't specifically know like their internal life. You know, they may not be like good people to some extent. Again, I don't know their personal life, but you can see a person that works hard. You don't have to be a good person, but like if you work hard, you're still gonna reap the benefit because that is part of God's law. If you're a hardworking individual, you will reap those specific benefits, right? And if you're not a hardworking person, or if you don't work at all and you're lazy, there are consequences to being lazy. Like I think that's something that's important to note. The lazy people get punished.
Yes, and it's often in forms that will take time to manifest.
Yeah.
And it will be very, very bad.
And just kind of, I think just human beings in general has over time has developed ways to kind of combat laziness. Like, first of all, surrounding yourself with people that are hardworking, you inherently, to a large extent, like, I don't want to be the one person in the group, in the team that is not working. So that amplifies you, that helps you to go out there and do work so you can be part of the group, so you can be part of the group. So that is one aspect of just avoiding laziness. Surround yourself with hardworking individuals. If you know you're somebody that's lazy, go be around hardworking people, right? Inherently, you will start, like, at least you will develop the habits of working hard because everybody is around you is working. And so again, you inherently just okay, cool. Like, if I want to continue to be part of this group that I value, I'm gonna continue to working, right? And at the same time, just like stop making excuses. Stop making excuses for yourself. That's something that again we kind of talked about this. Stop making excuses for yourself, right? And we talked about if you don't have any goals, it's easy for you to become lazy. If you don't have any goals, it's easy for you to become lazy because you have nothing to work towards. But when you set goals, right, that's why goal setting is such a big thing when you look at like the personal development. Like everybody talks about goal setting, right? Because when you have goals, you have something to work towards. So you wake up in the morning, I know this is what I need to tackle. I know this is what I need to do. Not to say that you won't get lazy sometimes, right? But like it's less likely to happen because you're in a pursuit of something. You're excited about chasing this specific thing. And that's dopamine that is being secreted when you do that as well. So it does prevent you from being lazy to an extent, right? But like setting goals, like it helps you prevent laziness, right? And you don't have to again, everybody is different. Take little steps towards the things that you do want in life, because I think sometimes, okay, cool, like I've not been lazy my whole life. I'm not just one day you just can't decide that you're gonna like completely just overturn all the past, like just all the stuff that you didn't necessarily do in the past that kind of prevented you from laziness. So essentially what I'm saying is like take little steps that's going to progress you into being a more active and progressive person, right? You don't need to decide today that, okay, cool, I'm going to do 180 degrees turnaround, right? Take little steps and build little routines to where you don't procrastinate and you're taking more action towards the specific things that you want in your life. So that's what I will end this episode with, unless Kyle, you have something else that you want to add to that.
No, sounds good. Take little steps. I agree.
Yeah. All right, guys, that concludes it for episode number 8, right? It's episode number 8. Got to write this down.
Yes.
All right, guys, we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.